Hey everyone, so I have three Les Pauls here. In the middle I have a 2005 Gibson Les Paul Classic. To my left I have a 2007 Epiphone Les Paul Custom Limited Edition. I've taken off the pick guard. And over to my right I have another Epiphone Les Paul Custom that I've juiced up with some Seymour Duncans. Now my last video I did a sound check, a blind sound test, to see if you could hear the difference between these three guitars when you don't know what they are. But in this video I'm going to talk about the main quality differences between these three guitars to see if you can justify the spend or if there's anything major that really is highlighted from just feeling and observing these three guitars. Okay, let's start with weight. I haven't got a scale here, but these two feel similar in weight. The Gibson does just edge it out slightly and the neck angle is slightly more on the Gibson, but overall for weight, with my eyes closed, the Gibson's ever so slightly heavier, but it is not too drastic. Now for this Epiphone, it's way lighter. This was made in the year 2000, whereas my other Epiphone was made in 2007. They're both Epiphone Customs, but the weight is a little bit different. I'll continue to compare this Epiphone and this Gibson because I do see this as the highest quality Epiphone you can get, and this being a really good 2005 Gibson Les Paul. Aside from the weight, the feel, there is something different. Now the dimensions are virtually identical. The Epiphones feel slightly more hollow. That might be a very odd way to describe it, but just almost like when you're tapping it, they're not plastic obviously, but they have a slightly lighter or more hollow feel. Now that being said, this 2005 Les Paul Classic is very heavy, and I have played a friend's 2007 Gibson Les Paul Standard and it had a very similar feel to this Epiphone, meaning it was chambered, it was very light, and it had that slightly kind of hollow feeling. Yeah, the Epiphone's slightly lighter, but there's not too much in it. The neck binding is the big difference here. I hope you can see this. I might try and zoom in, if not I'll add a picture. For clarity, I just thought I'd add here, what I'm trying to highlight is the way that the binding neatly wraps into the fret itself. You can see here on the Gibson that binding actually wraps into the fret, causing a lovely smooth edge, whereas with the Epiphones it does not do that, and it does expose the fret edge. Now this isn't a problem if the frets are nicely filed and well prepped, but I have found that this is the downfall on the Epiphones. The frets are not finished as well as they should be, in my opinion. They are a little bit sharp especially at the high end of the neck, and I actually do get the string caught under the fret every now and again on the Epiphone Les Paul Custom Limited Edition, which really isn't good. On the black Epiphone, they're actually really nice. But the quality in the neck binding on the Gibson versus the Epiphones are completely different. And on the Epiphones, as I'll show in a moment, the frets become sharp high up the neck, and that's no good. But on this Gibson, look how beautiful that is. The workmanship there is amazing. You can now see on this Epiphone that is not the case with the binding, and the frets are exposed at the end. Now you wouldn't feel it until you go higher up the fretboard, but right up here the frets are a little bit sharp. However, look at that beautiful guitar. It does look great, doesn't it, with that flame top. Look at the back of that. This Epiphone, this limited edition Epiphone, sure is lovely. And same goes for this Epiphone Les Paul Custom. However, the frets are in pretty good shape here. I don't really notice these frets being sharp or anything. They're very nicely filed, and I think with the other Epiphone it just needs a setup, or well, a service, let's say, a fret dress, and yeah, it would be great. Headstocks. So there's one Epiphone Les Paul Custom. It has Grover tuners and it feels just as high quality as a Gibson would. But this other Epiphone Les Paul Custom just has some standard tuners, and they are the weak point of this guitar. The highlight is definitely this Gibson Les Paul. When you come to look at the tuners, the Cluson style Gibson Deluxe tuners just look fantastic on this, and what a nice guitar it is. Look at that. Love it, love it. Love all three of them. Very happy to be having 3 Les Pauls around me. I also really like the volume and tone controls. This just feels a lot better on this Gibson than it does on the Epiphones. I don't really know how to explain it because you are simply turning a volume or tone knob, but for some reason, maybe it's the look, it's the feel, there's just something about it that feels a little better on the Gibson. In all honesty, that's about it. When I'm not talking about sound, there isn't too much more that I could compare. These guitars all have the same dimensions, they play all very well. I'm going to tell you which guitar I like best. I feel that I play best on this Epiphone Les Paul Custom. First of all, look at it, it's absolutely amazing. Look at that shine. Absolutely amazing. Now, this is my favorite guitar. I'm meaning a black Les Paul Custom is my favorite with no pick guard and the uncovered. Look at that, I did clean and restring this earlier. It just looks fantastic, doesn't it? Wow, you can just appreciate that all together. Yeah, this I feel I play the best on. Interestingly, this guitar was used on my second album, Time to Rise. Pretty much only this guitar. This and that we used on my first album. On my second album, I did actually use a Gibson Les Paul Gold Top that wasn't mine, but I recorded my solos on a Gibson Les Paul Gold Top. Aside from on Travelling On and on Everything. All the other solos were done on a Gibson, but Travelling On and Everything, all of it was done on this very guitar here. What I was getting to is I like the neck on this guitar. It's not as thin as the other two, but it's not thick. I don't really know what I could categorize this neck as. However, it's just a little bit thicker and I like kind of digging in a bit more when I play. So, I play the best on the Epiphone Les Paul Custom. I seem to prefer the neck on this Epiphone Les Paul Custom. However, overall, this is by far my favorite. It's a Gibson after all, and just something about looking at that headstock as a guitarist just makes you never want to put this guitar down. I feel the same way about those. I get quite attached to my instruments, you might have been able to tell. But overall, the sound, well, I played this on stage about a month or 6 weeks ago, and just the solos at full, I could really feel and hear a difference there. So it's very hard to choose, but either way, overall, the feel and the tone, the Gibson wins. Respect everyone, hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.